You are live.
Good morning, and behold, a stunning African sunset, a crisp and very cold upper atmosphere, and lots of clouds bringing us a pink, orange and grapefruit sunrise here as African dawn has broken in the northeastern corner of South Africa. You're on a live safari. My name is James Hendry. On camera today is Jean-Dre. Hello, Jean-Dre.
Hello,
I haven't worked with Jean-Dre since 1976, so it's very good to be with him again. Jean-Dre, how's your foot this morning?
I'm quite all right.
Right, we've been calling him Hoppy because he had a fight with a high-lift jack and lost quite comfortably. On the other vehicle, we've got Sam Chevalier. He is being filmed by Brian, all 6'4" of him, and 74 jackets. And in the final control, Kirsten McLennan-Smith, whose hair is roughly the same color as the sunrise, and she is being ably assisted by Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca, who's probably got... Rebecca's remarkable different kinds of hairdressers. Oh, it's not Rebecca today, it is Geraldine, the Cheesecake Kent, so it's good to have her back in the final control. You are all most welcome. If you have stumbled across this website because you're a North American insomniac, or perhaps you are an Australian early riser, or what would it be, a night owl from Europe, please do talk to us at any stage of the drive. Hashtag Safari Live if you'd like to tweet through a question or a comment. Otherwise, questions at WildEarthTV, or you can talk to us on the YouTube chat stream. That seems to work very well as well. We've come to the hyena den today, and we were hoping to sort of have sunrise with the hyenas. There aren't any hyenas here. This is the first one we've checked so far. So we're going to pop gently up the road towards the north and see if the other den is active. If it isn't, we'll keep on towards the east of the reserve and see if we can't find any signs of some lions coming across. Otherwise, I've no doubt there'll be views and creatures aplenty to keep us entertained and enthralled for the course of the next 3 hours. Here we go. Jean-Ray, look how athletic I am, the way I sit down in the amazing seat of this Land Rover. There we go. Now, the weather, although it looks like we're dressed for the Arctic, is apparently 18 degrees Celsius, but 64 degrees Fahrenheit. But I've got to tell you, there's a wind chill out here that makes it a lot colder than that. And that's because we're now on the third day of this cold front, which, as you can see, seems to be breaking up. And I'm just going to stop here once more, just so that you can have a look at those utterly remarkable clouds. Isn't that astonishing? Wow. So you can hear a little bit of the wind blowing through the tips of the trees here. A couple of birds, just a dove off to the right. And a drongo. But otherwise, I think you'll find that the birds are huddling in the thick bush, their feathers ruffled out, hoping that the sun will break through the clouds for the first time in 3 days and warm them up as the morning progresses. It is just astonishing. It's like a heavenly skylight, really. Jean-Ray, well done. Jean-Ray, of course, has only got one shoe on. There we go. X-Ranger, you say it's 2 p.m. in Australia. So, yes. Well, no, you're not a morning. Of course not. You're in the afternoon there. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, X-Ranger. 2 p.m. in Australia. I'd love to know if anybody's watching us from the east coast of America. West coast, sorry. And east coast. Tell us what the time is there. We'll probably work it out. West coast, probably 7 hours behind us. 6. East coast, sorry.
East coast, 6.
6 hours.
Midnight.
So you're sitting at about midnight, which makes the west coast 2 hours behind that. It's only about 10 o'clock. 9 or 10 o'clock. You're not an insomniac at all. Keep watching. And in Britain, of course, then you wouldn't really be watching unless you're an insomniac. It would be 4 a.m. Now, here is another little hyena den. This seems to be sort of a temporary refuge for them. And I've only ever seen them here once. I've checked that other den we were at twice now in the last 2 days, haven't found them. They could have moved, but the last time I said that, I ended up yet again with egg on my face, and they came back a day later. I don't think they were ever gone. I just think the adults weren't there when we were, and so the babies can come out. This is just quite interesting because that is where a hyena would live. A young hyena, up to about 9 months, will go into a den site like that. It's a termite mound. It's been excavated by an aardvark or ant bear initially, and then those little hyena cubs will excavate their own little portions, little shelves, and underneath there. And that is where they will go if they're ever threatened at all. They'll drop down into those holes, and no other predator will be able to get them. Okay, let us go across to Mr. Sam Chevalier. It is his 4th drive, and he has a spiral-horned antelope to show you. Right, sorry about that. Sam Chevalier has got no communications with you at the moment. Never mind. We'll continue on our drive. We'll try and find you a kudu as well. I hope you saw the kudu. I can tell you a little bit about Sam's kudu if you have any questions about it.
Male or female?
Yes, I don't know if it was male or female, everybody. Thank you very much for that, Chandra. Shut up and do your camera work. Okay, let's go out onto the northern boundary and see if we can find something with a heartbeat other than Gendre. Otherwise he's going to start talking. We don't want that, I promise. Oh, there's something very lovely about this morning, I must say. I think it's the light. And as I've said before, and I think I've probably said it a few times, I've probably said most things a few times actually since I started doing this job. There's only so much in your brain that you can share with people, you know. Clouds and a lack of sunlight definitely contribute to a feeling of slight depression in me. And over the last 2 days, I've sort of become progressively slightly more depressed. And as the sun's come out now, suddenly my spirits have lifted, so I can only imagine what it's like for those of you who live in places where it's cloudy more often than it isn't. Alright, we're going to try and get hold of Sam, because the final control cannot get hold of him. Sam Chevalier, come in, Sam Chevalier. There we go. Sam, final control is trying to get hold of you. Please try and do a comms test with them. Right, we're now on the northern boundary. So they're having trouble with their radio. So Kirsten, he says they are having trouble with the radio, trying to sort it out now. Chandra, do you feel depressed when it's very cloudy? Yes. You come from Cape Town, where it's cloudy for 3 months of the year at a time.
No, 4 seasons a day.
There's a constant fight in South Africa, everybody, between, well, you see, people from Cape Town think that everything north of the Hottentots Holland Mountains, which are the mountains just north of the city, everything else is basically a worthless part of the country. The rest of us, of course, feel largely jealous of the fact that they have such beauty in Cape Town, and so we take every opportunity we can to diss the place. Well, mainly we diss its inhabitants, not so much the place itself. Not much pop stopping out here with great enthusiasm to show itself. I'm sure it will over the course of the morning. Now, we didn't find the Nkuhuma Pride yesterday. We didn't find where they'd been even after we last saw them. And doing a little boundary patrol in the morning is always a good idea because it'll give you an indication of what has gone on during the night. The Bush newspaper, if you like, the Bush Morning Edition. So what we'll do is drive slowly along the northern boundary and see if any tracks have popped across during the course of the night. Lion tracks largely, and then we will go and have a look and see if Tingana, either Sam or I, will go and see if Tingana is still where he was last night. Now, for those of you who weren't with us last night, Tingana that is not in a good way. He's quite badly injured. We don't know why he's injured. It looks to me, I think, like he's been attacked by a hyena, caught while he was possibly in the throes of passion. I'll talk about that a little bit more just now. There is a magpie shrike, our first heartbeat of the morning. A spectacular view at 100 meters, just about. But that bird is not sitting there for some random reason. There are two of them there. There's a youngster on the left making that noise, and then an adult on the right. In fact, that isn't a youngster, it's a different bird entirely. But they're sitting there waiting for the first rays of the sun. It's a drongo to the left. It's the drongo. That drongo is chasing the magpie shrike. It was the drongo making the noise. It was imitating a magpie shrike. They're not very good imitators, but that's what was going on there. So, Tingana, not in a great way. I think he was attacked by a hyena, and I suspect what happened was that the mating noise that the female leopard makes and the male leopard makes when they mate will definitely attract the attentions of other predators, more dominant predators like the hyena, and I wonder if they weren't both attacked, and he seems to have been bitten on his backside. I don't think it would have been the female who managed to do that to him, and whether he'll recover or not, we're not sure. We need to get a better idea of his injuries. But animals are incredibly resilient out here, so I think he'll probably be okay. We'll go and have a look, see if he's still in the same place a little bit later. Yes, I am. Right, let us try again. Let us go across to Sam Chevalier. He is back online.
Back in action. We're live.
We live?
Yes.
Alright. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sabi Sands. We are here at Philemon's Dip as I'm learning my roads slowly but surely. I have Brian behind the camera, and it's been a difficult morning just as I've been trying to figure out how to use the new vehicle. But you know what, these challenges are going to come, and I've got to try and get to the plate and learn a little bit more about everything that's here. So I had Wendy yesterday, and now it's Rusty, and we just had an incredible sighting with some kudu just now. Beautiful secretive animals, definitely one of my favorite antelopes here in the bushveld. And we're just going to be heading south towards Gowrie Cutline, which is the edge of on Djuma property, and we're going to see what we can find. But we had an incredible sunrise this morning. Brian, can you just see the last little parts of that sunrise? That's the sunrise over there. So the last few mornings, both morning drives that I've been on, have actually been quite cloudy. So it's the first time I've actually seen a really nice morning sunrise. So it's going to turn out to be a beautiful day, and this time of day is actually a really important time to see if you can find tracks, because what happens is the lights, the angle of the lights in the morning and the evening helps to find the tracks that are going to be on the road a little bit easier. So I'm seeing loads of impala and loads of kudu tracks at the moment. So our mission today is to just bumble around, but also to see what birds we can find and add to our bird list. As you can see, I've got my favorite little blue book, and we're going to carry on and see if we can find the yellow-billed oxpecker today. Good morning, Leo King. How are you this morning? I hope that you are doing very well. The question was, how many flightless birds do we have down here in the Sabi Sands? And one of them will be the crescent franklin, which we've already seen in our bird book. Well, what we've put in here, but we have other types of franklin, like the Swainson's franklin, and so that most of the franklins are part of the ground nesting birds. You also have guinea fowl, helmeted guinea fowl, are also part of that family that don't fly. So yeah, we'll see what else we can find. Hopefully we can find some more franklins and helmeted guinea fowl to put to our list. But there's one person I forgot to introduce, and I feel quite bad. It's actually the thumb of Brian. Good morning, Brian's thumb. Welcome to your work day. You see he's got his tie on today. What colour tie does he have today, Brian?
Orange tie.
He's got an orange tie. Orange tie for a Friday. It's Friday. I actually have no idea what day of the week it is. So, and that's what the most beautiful thing is about being in the bush, is that you don't really have to know what day of the week is it. Ever. Every day is the same, the bushveld. Okay, so we are in Gowrie, Maine now. There we go, you can see we've got a perfect angle for the sunlight now. We can see if there's been any tracks that have moved across the road over the night. We know, from what I remember, it was this block that we were with Tingana. The first time I've been with a male leopard, it was such an incredible sighting for me here in the Sabi Sands to really get to know Tingana and understand his territory and understand the way in which he lives his life. Which is quite difficult to see, because at the same time, because he was actually quite injured. Did you notice? I don't know who was there yesterday morning, but he looked like he was in quite a lot of pain. He had like cuts on his sides, and the prediction was that Tingana was actually injured by Tandi during the mating over the last 3 days. So I think he might actually still be up in the bush, hiding somewhere, just resting and trying to get his energy back. At the same time, his energy is also going to be needed through eating food. He's only going to gain energy through feeding. So you'll also definitely see if he can try and get an opportunistic sighting and get something to eat and fill his belly up with something that'll help him get a little bit better and recover faster. But I'm yet to meet one of his beautiful wives, Tandi. She sounds like an amazing leopard, and I'm sure I'll have the time to see her. Wow. Brian, can you just highlight the grasses? Can you get a good shot of the grasses? Look how beautiful those grasses are with the... Yo, it's beautiful, that golden light on those grasses. It's incredible. So Jeffrey is asking from Texas, what is the most intelligent bird species that we get out here? Wow, Jeffrey, I wouldn't actually categorize any birds as more clever than the other. They all got their own sense of genius out in the wilderness. To be able to survive is not an easy experience, but of course there are some that have very intelligent ways of actually becoming more efficient within the bush, which can be termed as intelligent. And that would be the cuckoo. I think the cuckoo is just a fascinating bird. The Deirdre's cuckoo, Jacobin's cuckoo, and you get a number of the different types of cuckoos. And Hashtag Safari Live, the different cuckoos that you know, wherever you are in the world. I'd love to know what cuckoos come into your area. But I love the cuckoo because of its way in which it has brood parasitism. It's incredible that a cuckoo can go into a nest and actually lay a very similar looking egg to that of another bird. So brood parasitism, just so that everyone knows and you all know, is when a bird will come into another bird, like a starling, for example, can come into the nest. The cuckoo can come into the nest of the starling, lay an egg that is similar looking to the starling, and will hatch and be raised by the mother starling throughout its life. And then at the end of its life, well, not at the end of its life, during its life, it will go to a female cuckoo or a male cuckoo, and it will carry on its life. So it doesn't think it's a starling. So it's incredible. It really is an intelligent way of surviving out here as a species. So I really enjoy the cuckoo, and I'll do my very, very best to find a cuckoo, but I know it'll be quite difficult now as a lot of them are very migratory. My favorite of the cuckoos is actually the Diedrich's cuckoo. The Diedrich's cuckoo, wow. The sound of it goes Diedrich's. Diedrich's. Guys, I'm going to keep it down a little bit as we come into this drainage basin, because this, as you can see, is a little river bend, and often during the day or in the mornings you can find leopards that will walk through here, even hippos that will be resting after eating and grazing at night time. So just going to go silently through here. Brian, if you could keep it just on the river, and just help everyone see if they can see anything that I can't see. This is often this is a very secretive place, because you can, it's a drainage line, and often you'll find kudu and nyala, leopard, all sorts of very secretive animals, and we're going to do our best to see what we can find in this drainage basin as we come underneath this beautiful jackalberry tree. See if we can find any bird species as well in this area. As I slowly move through this drainage basin, we're going to see what James is up to. See you later.
We are almost at the northeastern corner now, and shortly we will turn south. We have found no tracks of anything other than one or two elephants that have wandered across this road. So no lions and no leopards at this stage, but that's okay. It is very pleasant driving through this morning, I must say. And when we get to the top here, I'll just turn around and give you a view out behind us. The loveliness of the clouds, and where you can just see the mountains silhouetted. I'll stop up here and we can have a look. So no sign of the lions calling either last night. And so for a little while we had a territorial dispute going on between the Salatis, the sort of northern coalition of two, and the Birmingham boys, the southern coalition of 5 male lions who kind of dominate Djuma. But Djuma is kind of the very northern reaches of their territory. They don't feel a tremendous amount of threat at this particular area of their territory, and so they don't spend a great deal of time here, the Birmingham boys, which is a distressing thing for us. That will change over the course of time because lion society is very fluid. So there we go. Have a look down there. There's very lovely picture there. You can see the mountains just through the haze there. There's the sort of dark bit sticking up above the green. Nestled beneath them is the dubious settlement of Hoedspruit, of course. And still, you can hear not much in the way of bird song, because there is still a chilly wind, but the sun has touched the tops of the trees there, you can see. And very soon, I think there will be a little bit more bird song. And I think also this wind will probably die off a little bit as the sun breaks. There's a lovely bird calling. That's the red-crested corhan. Do you know what a red-crested corhan looks like, John Ray?
I do.
Well, if you didn't, I'd have shown you. And for those who don't know what a red-crested corhan looks like, it looks like that over there. And it's also known as the suicide bird, so called because, as you can see from this little display picture there, it flies up into the air, folds its wings and drops to the ground, just normally after it's made that call. Flies up, and all the other Korans look up into the air, they see where he is, and his territory will then spread in a cone from the apex of his flight. And suicide bird because some of the younger birds, when they fold their wings and drop to the ground, they forget to open their wings. They don't quite time the opening of their wings correctly, and they plummet into the ground and have a small concussion for the remainder of the day. That is the red-crested corhan. So we're now on the eastern boundary, the far east of Djuma. To the east of us, that's to the left-hand side of your screen, is Torchwood. To the right, the, well, not very vast expanse, but very attractive expanse of Djuma. Look, you see there, Jean-Ray? It's on the top of this scraggly tree in front of us. It's an eastern paradise wider. Now, look at that. Many of you won't have that on your bird lists yet. So I know Sam is keeping a bird list with a lot of the new bird list keepers, but for those who aren't keeping a new bird list and perhaps are looking for a new bird, the Eastern Paradise Wider is probably a good one. And you can see, can you imagine how seasick he must be getting sitting on that tree? That's really nice. Very few of them have been around this season. I think because of the lack of grass. They are grass eaters. And I will show you a picture of him, and I will also show you what he's going to look like in just a month or two. He will not maintain that long tail throughout the summertime. There you can hear the red-crested corhan calling again as the sun starts to really light up. Another beautiful morning. He's clinging on for dear life there. So, here he is in the book. That's him there, the Eastern Paradise Wider. And that's the male. The female is a fairly drab affair. That's her there. And he will look precisely the same as that, or almost the same. There he is in his winter plumage. So that is purely for his summertime plumage. And all of these widers, the pin-tailed and the shaft-tailed, are the same. They will all start to look completely indistinguishable from the average sort of finch-like little brown job for the course of the winter time. So those tails are an advertisement to the ladies, and they show the ladies, the longer the tail basically, the more chance he has of mating. And what they demonstrate to the ladies is that despite this incredible encumbrance that he has on his backside, he's able to survive. He's able to set up a territory and escape predators, and that means that he must be very strong and must have good genes, and that will then inspire ladies to acquiesce to his amorous advances. There he goes. How cool is that? Right, it's the Eastern Paradise Wider, heads appropriately off east.
And a nyala, everyone. a beautiful male Inyala. Look at those horns and the fur and the socks on his legs and the beautiful white little spots around his body, the white stripes, the long little bits of fur at the top which stand up straight when he's against another male. The Nyala certainly is an incredible looking antelope. And just as I said a little bit earlier, we would most likely find a kudu or a nyala in the bushveld or in the brush, because they are very, very secretive animals, just like the kudu. And you can see those stripes. Can you see the stripes and the dots through the green there? That actually helps with the coloration. It helps with the camouflage of the nyala. It helps, it almost looks like light between the trees when you have a look at those, the white on the nyala through that brush. But that was an incredible sighting of a nyala. I truly, truly love the nyala. It's a very, very beautiful animal, much like the kudu, as I said, as it walks through here. And we were very lucky to have seen it. And, they have a very, very sharp bark, just like the kudu have a very, very sharp bark. And I'm just going to go to the back here, see if we can find nyala. Okay, so that's the kudu. We saw the kudu a little bit earlier. So it's very similar to the nyala in ways, but of course the kudu is a lot bigger. And their tracks, as you can see over here, are also very, very big. So that's the kudu, which we actually saw just a couple minutes ago. So I just wanted to show you the kudu. This is not the animal that we just saw. I just want to let you know that we saw the nyala. So we're just going to go and see if we can find the nyala. Here's the nyala. And over here, we can see that was the same looking one that we saw. It was a male. You can see the white stripes on the back, the beautiful horns. And over here, we can see that that's a female. So the female, the sexual dimorphism between the male and the female is huge, is very significant. And most of the time you'll find that the mother and the young will be together. And males you often find walking alone in the bush. So that was an exceptionally awesome sighting of the nyala. And hopefully we can see if we can find a female and a youngster. That would be great. So that was a beautiful sighting of the nyala. We are still moving slowly through this river drainage basin, and we're going to see if we can find something else. I keep hearing the magnificent liquid sound of the black-headed oriole, and I've heard it a few times, so even yesterday and the day before, and I'm going to do my very, very best to see if we can find one. So I'm going to switch on my vehicle and carry on. While I slowly meander my way through here, let's see what James is doing with the elephants.
We've just come across an enormous herd of elephants here, and there's a great deal of playing going on. See in front of us there a conflagration in the road, two youngsters having a bit of a box in the background, another two having a little bit of a box, the mother there saying, "Stop it, eat your breakfast," another little one rushing in and saying, "Mum says you've got to stop." The rest of them just kind of making their way through the morning, enjoying the little bit of sun and enjoying the fresh grass that has come as a result of the little bit of rain that we had in the late summer. This is great. Isn't that a wonderful picture? And I can smell them now. An elephant smells like a sort of sweet leather, if you like. lots of them sort of sorting out their little dominance hierarchies, the little ones having a play. I'm sure the wind's got something to do with that. They're all standing quite close by, and you can see them kind of jostling for position. That little one showing irritation with his friends. And Kirsty's just saying that she reckons this might be the same herd that was with Jamie yesterday. Brian, at least, Genre, you were with Jamie, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't recognise them.
Okay. Apparently, the ones from yesterday, one of the herds that Jamie had yesterday was that very distinctive cow, Fang, with her recurved tusk. So if she's here, we'll know that that is the case. But I think the first herd that was playing on the road with her wasn't. You can see one just in the background there going up a termite mound, chasing his friend up. There. There's a wonderful behavior. And that little one is just, it's exactly the best way to understand elephant behavior is to pretend that this is human behavior. So it's exactly the same as a 4-year-old human being wanting to play with a sort of 8-year-old youngster. And the 8-year-old just kind of putting up with it for now, but eventually will sit up and push him out the way. The little baby in the road there trying to also play. Little face planting. And I'm sure that's the mother of that little one there just saying, hang on a second, don't show off, push your face into this dirt. It's very unbecoming for an elephant of our station. Mother doesn't care, at least the little one doesn't care. But I want to play in the sand. It's so awesome. Now, Kyle, while we're doing this, I think you're going to be able to answer your own question here. What is the emotion that you get from looking at these animals? Kyle wants to know if I think that the animals out here have emotions. Do they feel anything? Or do they just go about like automatons, eating what they need to eat, mating when they need to, and just sort of glumly going through life? Kyle, I think that if you watch these elephants, you cannot but get the sense that they are excited, that they are happy, and they're having a good time. Look at that. Little one just enjoying playing in the sand there. Maybe having a little bit tired after the night. So I have no doubt in my mind, Kyle, that animals out here feel emotions. Yes, there are scientists even to this day who will tell you that animals don't have emotions. Those are few and far between these days, though. Another one sitting down, lying on the ground. But anybody who's ever owned a cat or a dog or perhaps even a horse will know that there are days when they're in good moods and days when they're in bad moods. Sometimes that's just chemical, but it's unquestionably true. And elephants especially are very good at showing their emotions. They show us when they're angry, when they're sad, when they're happy. This is wonderful. So I think they've had a chilly night, and now there's a bit of sun out. They're having a bit of a play. And you can see the adults, exactly as with human behavior, are going about the kind of business of the day. They're eating what they need to eat, deciding where to go for water later on, perhaps thinking about where they're going to rest in the middle of the day. The youngsters couldn't give a flying continental. They're just playing, and they know they're carefree. They know that the adults are going to look after whatever decisions need to be made for the day. And so in their happy, carefree state, they're just playing in the dawn. I'm going to sneak slowly forward. One or two of them gave us a bit of a look as we arrived here. There's a big bull. We'll just ease forward. I don't want to affect them at all. They're having such a good time. There, look at those two fighting there. nothing very serious about that. Yes, there is an element of seriousness in that there is a dominance hierarchy that will be kind of sorted out by playing, again, exactly as it is with young boys or young human beings. Young men playing on the playground or playing sport with each other. That's exactly what's going on here. I don't even know where to look, you know. There are probably, I don't know, about 30 elephants around us, Chandra. It's a pretty big herd, especially for this area, and very nice that they are heading into Djuma as opposed to out of it. Very well hidden there, and then these little ones there, again, lying on the ground, face planting. That's a tiny little thing, less than a year old. Just quickly going to join Mum, feeling slightly nervous now. There is a larger bull around, neither of those two. That larger bull, when he comes into frame off there, that's him walking the far side there, Chandra, yeah. Just disappearing in the background there. And when he's around, you notice things calm, quite obviously. These two young chaps are showing each other who's boss. Now, I mean, the force with which those two animals have just bashed into each other is impressive. But because they are so big, of course, it doesn't really affect them. This is just amazing. I don't think there's any real doubt as to who's the dominant one there, although, come on, push back, don't be afraid. I can just hear a kind of, what shall we say, pre-teen playground going on here. I can just hear the voices of human boys as they push each other about. I'm enjoying lying in the dirt. Two more having a little wrestle in there. Deborah, Armchair Traveller, I tend to agree with you. You say this is one of the best sightings out of many wonderful elephant sightings. It's incredible. I'm just going to see how we can sneak right in here. There we go. This is awesome. I don't even know where to look. There to the right, you've got them fighting. Another three on the left having a bit of a wrestling match. And these are all young bulls. I don't know what's got into them. It might be the presence of that much larger bull around the herd. It's kind of got them showing off. You can't really, I suppose, get an impression of the size of them from there. So these are, I would say, between sort of 10 and 15-year-old bulls, 10 and 14 maybe, and they probably weigh about 3 tons each. 3 to 4 tons each, that's 3,000 to 4,000 kilograms. And in pounds, that would be about 6,600 pounds. 6,600 to 700,000, at least to 7,000 pounds. That's a smaller one, slightly smaller one there, being a bit bullied by the other two. And chased further and further away from the herd. The youngsters, the really little ones, have now been told by their mothers that they need to come and have their morning milk and stop horsing about the place. Well, the young bulls will no doubt complain bitterly as they have to move later on during the day, and then they want to actually sit down and then have a rest. Their mothers, as with humans, will say, "Oh, we told you so." Now keep up. I often think that elephants get bored, you know, especially by young bulls like this. I think that they find us quite interesting some of the time when they're a bit bored. And likewise, when they get the opportunity to play, when the herd stops moving fast, they like to take those opportunities to have a bit of a laugh. It's going to join the fracas off to the left of us. Now remember, those tusks are teeth. So they are the big front incisor teeth. So I imagine it probably does hurt a little bit. Anna Marie, I agree with you. It's a very distinctive sound, that clash of tusks against tusks, as is the sound of buffalo horns crashing together, even if they're just sort of play fighting like these ones are. You can hear it from a long way, A, and B, it is very distinctive. It's easy to pick out. This is just brilliant. And that's a classic example there, Kimber. When they turn their heads and shake them and open their ears out, they're saying, "Go away, leave me alone." Wants to eat now, wants his breakfast, tired of playing. And the other one, listen, do you see that? There we go, joining another fracker. Sure that I've seen a herd with so many young bulls like this before. It's quite unusual, and they're all going to cross the road basically where we are, because the rest of the herd has grazed off towards the west. Here comes another one to show us how big and tough he is. Come on, say hi. So like I say, I think they get bored, and I think when we come along like this, and we're clearly not a threat, it's quite interesting for them to just come and see what we do. Little bit of streaming from the gland between the ears and the eyes there. That's the temporal gland. And I think all that is a result of this play fighting that they're doing. Thank you, Gendre, for that. I'm just trying to stay out of your picture, everyone. Gendre is a comedian today, I see. And I mean, we look at these elephants and we think, well, surely there must be some kind of injury accruing every so often, because it looks quite vicious. And you hear the sound of them thrashing against each other. And Megan, I've often had exactly the same thought as you. Do they ever have eye injuries from these clashes that they have? And no, they don't seem to. And I find it amazing. I think you find that the animals here are incredibly good at sort of first dodging potential things that might stab them, And they're also pretty good at not actually hurting each other. I think if this was serious, there'd be a lot more of an attempt to genuinely do some harm. And I watched once, we're going to drive around and see if we can pick them up coming out the other side of the clearing. When I was watching two Nyala having a physical fight, because that seldom happens, they normally just do that ridiculous sort of balletic dance around each other. And it was the most amazing thing to watch when we watched it carefully, how it was like two highly skilled fencers going at each other, and the horns would tap, 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 and they knew how to predict the movements of the other one's horns, because without that, those horns would unquestionably have pierced and stabbed and really done some horrible damage. But they'd learnt over the years how to cope with the different, with the different movements of the horns, and they could avoid injury that way. And I'm pretty sure it's the same with the elephants. So this little chap is now breaking off a stick. He's decided to stay away from the fighting and have something to eat, rather. He's probably a young cow who's just a bit more mature than the young bulls. Just eating off the bark there. All right, let's head across to Sam. He's got a much smaller but much more colourful animal to show you.
The lilac-breasted roller, everyone. One of the most stunning birds in the bushveld, and we are so lucky this morning because the sun is shining right on the lilac-breasted roller. You can see the colours. What are those colours? They go from purple to blue to green to brownish. Wow. There are a number of different types of rollers that you get here, and this is one of our residents, the lilac-breasted roller. Incredible bird. Just sitting here and watching it in the sunlight is spectacular. It's been a long time since I've seen the lilac-breasted roller, and you normally see them everywhere, so I'm sure I'm going to be seeing you a lot, Mr. Lilac-breasted roller. And with that, I'm going to write you onto our bird list. So, you are number 8, the lilac-breasted roller. And with that, if anyone would like to, I forgot to mention a little bit earlier that the lilac-breasted roller, as I said, I put it onto my bird list. Sorry if I sound congested. My nose, since I've been here in the Sabi Sands, has been really quite full. So if I sound different, it's because of that. But we sat here and we've got magpie shrike, red-billed oxpecker, blacksmith plover, the crested franklin, the barn swallow, the Birchall's starling, the grey lurry or turaco, and now the lilac-breasted roller. We had the yellow-billed hornbill, the yellow-billed hornbill just now. It was just to the right of us. Beautiful bird as well. And obviously, of course, we cannot show you, we cannot write it down once I've seen it with you. So throughout the day, hopefully I'm going to be able to see these birds with you and write them down. But we've got so much time together that, it doesn't really, there's no rush to get everything. So we can kind of sit here and actually appreciate the lilac-breasted roller a little bit more and understand and have a look at maybe some of the other ones that exist here. So, over here is the lilac-breasted roller. Above us is the European roller. But we're just going to be seeing what's happening down with James. We'll see just now. Bye.
Right. Okay, everybody. Little slight confusion there. Anyway, here we are. 2 more elephants here. They were playing in the road, and a young bull came to within sort of 2 feet of us, very young one, the one who was in front of us before you went across to Sam. And unusually, I mean, he came to within 2 feet, and smaller than the others, and then a bigger one came up, the one that you can see in the distance, well, you can't, just to the right-hand side of you, there. He came up, and he's bigger, and the little one held at the ground, and eventually the big one kind of backed off a bit. That's lovely. That's nice to see, isn't it, John? It's quite impressive. Good flow, bladder function, perfect. Stomach working perfectly. Good. Nice to know. It's quite astounding how often we find animals in that sort of compromised position. I always remember my father's dog, Trubshaw, a profoundly stupid Staffordshire Bull Terrier who is sadly no longer with us. He used to look so embarrassed when on his walks he could hold it in no longer and he had to go to the loo, and he used to kind of look out the back of his eye at us as if to say, please avert your faces. The elephants have no such qualms at all. They're shouting off to the back there. I think what we're going to do, there's a little road up here. Let's go around. I don't want to sort of follow them through this thick bush. They've been so wonderful to us, and I think making a noise behind them is going to affect their behavior. So we don't need to do that, so we won't. So let's go along here at a relatively speedy speed and see if we can't pick them up the other side. There's still elephants dotted about through the bush here in Torchwood. There are lots and lots of them around, which is wonderful. I hope they hang around for a long time. Hold on, everybody, we're going to swing right. Now we have watched lions and we've watched hyenas, which are two obviously social animals that live around here, and the social structure of which we understand pretty clearly. And we know that a female moving from one pack or from one clan or pride to the other is highly unlikely to be accepted. In Aqua, we want to know if the same situation arises for elephants. Would a strange female not born into this herd be accepted? And the answer is yes, probably. They're not territorial elephants. They're known to have a much more egalitarian sort of society where they do look after each other. They will adopt youngsters from females who have died, and they will look after their sick. They'll stay behind with them. So yes, I absolutely think that a strange female who they didn't know, they might take a little bit of time to get used to her, but I think they would accept her into a herd like this. And remember, I think you referred to this as a family. There are some familial connections in it, but it's not a family strictly, in that the sort of makeup of the herd is females, related females, and their related offspring. So it's not a family in the sense of a nuclear family where the bull is around. There's no father figure at all. The father figure and the fathering role that bulls play, and they do play a mentoring role to young bulls when the young bulls leave the herd, and he comes much later. So when the bulls leave the herd at age 17 or so, they then go off on their own. They don't really know what to do. They often go off in a little group or join up with other bulls of the same sort of age. And they are often mentored or disciplined by much bigger bulls when they come across them. And I think it's quite an interesting thing that happens. Very few mammals do the fathers do anything other than provide the sperm with which the youngsters are created. Elephants, slightly different. Here they are. Here's the rest of the herd coming through now. And you can see things have got much quieter suddenly. So those bulls that were horsing around there on the clearing are further off behind those elephants there. That's a cow, probably some young cows, and they're just having their breakfast sedately. I just find the similarities with human society, not of course in terms of social structure, but in terms of behavior, It is remarkable how similar it is. You can just see a family with young girls going to do exactly what their mothers say, having their breakfast and making sure that they do their morning constitutionals when they're supposed to. And the bulls horsing around, you can even hear them in the background. Natasha, I think your question, if I'm not mistaken, is their skin rough? Is that correct, Kirsten? Is that what Natasha wants to know? What does their skin feel like? It feels pretty soft, Natasha. I mean, unfortunately, the only elephant skin that I've felt has been on a recently expired or recently died elephant. But yes, it's not that hard. There we go, moving off. It's sort of, it's probably not quite soft as, well, what I don't know. It's not the softest leather in the world, but it's not as hard as you might think it is. It does have a sort of softness to it. And you can hear the bulls there shouting at each other. It's the most terrifying sound. And yesterday morning I was walking around I was just going for a walk to see if I could find anything. And I came across a herd probably about the size. I wonder if it wasn't the same herd. And I sort of moved away from them because I could hear them doing this sort of thing. They were shouting at each other and they were running in between the bushes, and all I could see was a little bit of grey and then just breaking trees. And of course you can't see then which direction they're going to be running in. So we do need to be a little bit careful. There are a few more up ahead on the road. Here comes the sun gendry. Oh, it's so nice when it touches your face on a chilly morning like this. Let's try and ease our way in here. Some of the cows, like I said, look at there. Some of the cows, like I said, when we first saw them, did stop and have a look at us, just listened carefully. So I'm just going to be quite careful about how we approach them. There's a big cow in front of us, and she's just moving the dead wood out of the way so that she can graze on the green grass. And often the grass is underneath that dead grass. The dead wood is it's quite sweet. It's called Panicum maximum, and it's a really favored grazing grass of all the animals out here. And so she just almost delicately moved that probably 50 or 60 kilogram log out of the way, and now she's enjoying the sweet panicum underneath it. And you may be able to hear them talking. You can see she's listening to them. A whole lot more elephants talking to each other in the background, making those high, like these very low-pitched grumbling noises. Again, the atmosphere is filled with the smell of elephant, the skin, and of course the numerous dung piles that they're making all over the place here. There's a trumpet. There's definitely quite a lot going on in this herd. See her moving towards where that sound's coming from. There might be a bull in the herd who's causing a little bit of distress. Like I say, those youngsters, I mean, they looked like they were showing off to me, so it's quite possible that there's a bull around. Let's just go a little bit further forward. Here's a young cow feeding through the bush. I'm sure that's her mum, the big one that we were watching now. Oof. Look at the colour through that feathered chloris grass. That's just nothing like some backlit chloris there, Jean-Andre.
There's no sun on it.
Shut up. I remember now why we haven't worked with each other for so long. Kirk, you say South Africa sure is beautiful with all this green. It is, Kirk. Remember, this is a very small piece of a very magnificent country. All the way down to Cape Town, which was recently, I think, voted one of the most beautiful city in the world.
Amen.
With its mountain and beautiful seascapes, into the winelands there, up into the Karoo, a desolate and stunning kind of arid region in the center of the country, the Garden Route all the way up the western Cape Coast up to the Eastern Cape where my parents live, some of the most beautiful coastlines you'll find anywhere in the world. So we do have an incredible country. And then up into the northeastern regions, which we call the Lowveld or the Bushveld, where wildlife is the thing that attracts millions of tourists every single year. So yes, Kirk, an absolutely stunning country, and we're very privileged to live here. I'm going to think we're going to leave these elephants now. Buffelshoek Dam is not too far to the north of us, so let's go and have a look what's going on there. See if the hippo is still hiding his head under the water. The last time I went there, he was trying to hide away from the wind by putting his head under the water. While we do that, let us go across to Sam Chevalier. He has got some zebra to show you.
We are here with the zebra. Probably the second or third sighting that I've had with zebra here in the Sabi Sands at Djuma. This beautiful green lush property. You can see that the zebra is now grazing on the nice fertile green grass. So it's been a very dry, well, it was supposed to be the rainy season, so it's been a dry rainy season, and the zebras are now grazing on some nice fresh green grass, which is going to give it the nutrients and the energy that it needs to sustain a life out here in the bushveld. I've just been told that you've been chatting with James about how he's talking about how green and lush our country is and how beautiful it is to see it in this way, and I can thoroughly agree with him. You can see that it's enjoying the top. You can see how the zebra enjoys eating the top of the grasses. Much different to that of the wildebeest, who likes to eat the small parts of the grass. So that's part of the success of grazing, where the zebra and the wildebeest eat different types of grasses, which helps with the ecology of the area, the diversity of grassland, and just an overall better environment. There's a smaller one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zebra. What we call a dazzle of zebra that will move. If I was a predator now and I was moving towards them, they would run, and it would be difficult for me to catch one of them because of the way in which their coloration is. It confuses me, it dazzles me if I had to try and catch a zebra. Beautiful looking zebras out here this morning. I thought I would show you quickly in the book something. Here. So it is otherwise known as the Burchell's zebra, Equus burchelli. Over here we can see the track of the zebra, very significant track over here, and you can just see them grazing, just like we see them grazing in front of us. But it's so it's incredible to see this. I've seen I don't know if anyone knows the names of the other zebra in the Cape. Well, I've just said it, the Cape zebra. Where I live in Cape Town, I often go out with my father and go and look at some of the Cape zebra. Also a beautiful species to have a look at and watch in the Cape. I'm going to see if I can just get a closer sighting of these zebra as they graze on this beautiful morning in the bushveld. Bushveld means woodlands, so they're grazing out here in the woodlands. And as we saw the other day, the last 2 days have been exceptionally windy. The weather has been difficult for all types of herbivores out here the Swabi Sands because it makes it difficult for them to smell the predator. So often in these situations, the zebra, the impala, the giraffe will come into the open areas to use the use of having more sight to see and see what's going on around them. But also they all gather here, so more eyes means a better chance of survival. And there's just some impala just ahead there to the left, which complements just what I was saying, that they like to come into the open areas. But they especially do this at night time, so it's moving in towards the daytime, and they could probably go in their separate directions. But they will mostly be grazing out here on the grasses. The impala are very different to that of the zebra, as the impala browse on both, well, browses and grazes, so it'll browse on the leaves and the grasses, whereas the zebra most of the time will graze on the grasses. Beautiful. So stunning in that morning light, wow. A dazzle of zebra. And there the impala are now in the shot, just behind it. Beautiful camera work from Brian. And you can see that tail is used very significantly to swat the flies, because you can imagine there's so many flies out here, and the flies come and really, really annoy the zebra, so they can use that as a fly swatter. And look at that beautiful mane. So I really am in love with the zebra and the way in which its design is, the black and white, or the white and black. Very, very incredible creatures. My sister used to have a horse. It's called Galactic Ice. And I've been way too scared to go on horses, because when I was a kid, I went on my sister's horse, and we went out, and I fell off it, and I really injured myself. And ever since then, I've had a phobia of riding horses. So I'm very, very scared of that. But actually, last year, I was staying at my girlfriend's house in the Pantanal, close to the Pantanal, in Brazil. And we woke up one morning, and the uncle, who didn't speak much English, brought me out into the paddock, and he got me onto a horse. And next thing I was on a horse, and I couldn't really tell him, listen, his name was Marcos, very, very nice man, Marcos. He got me onto the horse, and next thing I was going through the Pantanal, which was incredible. And we went looking for jaguar out in the Pantanal. Such an incredible experience that was. And the Pantanal is just exceptional. But I was very nervous, going through a terrain that I had never really been in before, especially looking for a jaguar, which I had never seen before. And so new experiences come with a little bit of stress, but they're always really good for you. And that's actually where you learn the most, is where you put yourself in positions where you didn't think that you might be able to do it. Just like this, I'm out here in the Swabi Sands, learning how to present to many different people. I thought it would be impossible, but I threw myself into this position to see how it would fit. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. But at the moment it's working, and thanks to the team that are behind me, from Brian to Kirsty and Rebecca and James and everyone that was here. Even Scott had a really big influence on me when I came down here. He really sat me down and gave me the confidence I needed to be out in the bushveld. So with that, I would say in life, always challenge yourself and do things that you don't think you could do. James's hat. James's hat. Is that a Twitter name? Does James have someone who has? Anyway, that's remarkable. I hope someone out there will get Sam's hat. Jokes. This is my hat, so I'll make my own Twitter name as Sam's hat. But as the question that James's hat is asking me is whether the zebra and the horse are very similarly related, and yes, of course, they are very related, but they're not. You can't domesticate a zebra, not the way in which you can domesticate a horse. They're very, very different in personality between the horse and the zebra. Not that I've ever tried to domesticate a zebra, and I would never try. I think it's a terrible thing when we try to domesticate wild animals. It doesn't really work so well. But to answer your question, James's hat, I don't think that they're very similar in terms of their personality. Even though they've got the same sort of genes. In terms of personality, they are very, very different animals. See what else we have out here in the bushveld. I find it remarkable that James's hats is such a celebrity. That's so cool. Ryan just asked a great question, and that was, what is the difference between a Burchell's and a Cape zebra? Well, the Cape zebra, of course, is found in the Cape, and the Burchell's zebra is found here in Savannah. But let's take it to the book and see what the book says about the difference between a Cape and a Burchell's zebra. Cape and a Burchell's zebra. Let's do this together. Zebra. Where is the zebra? Why am I being ABCW? Why is it only going up to W? Oh, because it's my bird book. That is quite embarrassing, everyone. That was my bird book looking for a zebra. That's obviously not going to work too well. 132. So, the Cape zebra, otherwise known as the mountain zebra. So let's have a look at the Burchell's zebra. Zebras, yeah, so that's the Burchell's zebra, Equus burchelli. I'm just going to see if I can find something that tells us the significant difference between the Burchell's and the Cape. So that's the mountain, rather not the Cape, the mountain zebra. I learned it as the Cape, and the book it is the mountain. As you can see, there's two dots that'll show you where you can find it here in the Cape. That's where I live. That's South Africa. That's Cape Town over there. I live in a place called Hout Bay, which is just to the left there. That's where I go surfing and climbing mountains. But let's just see. The Cape mountain zebra is confined to the southern mountains of the Cape. Its black stripes are broader than that of those the Harteman's mountain zebra, which occurs in mountain parts of Namibia. Unlike Burchell's zebra, its call is low and plaintive neigh. So there's no significant difference that I'm seeing. Well, of course there is a big difference, but in the book it's not telling me that much of the difference. But I'll go back and I'll do some more research on some of the more significant differences between the mountain zebra and the Burchell zebra that we get here in the Sabi Sands. Thanks for bringing that up. It's very interesting to go into a little bit more depth on the difference between the one that I know a little bit better from Cape Town to the one that we have here. Anna Marie, you asking, are jaguars and leopards the same size? That's a great question. You know, when I saw a jaguar in the Pantanal, it was very, very, very quick. I didn't have the opportunity to look at it for a long time. While I was staying in the Pantanal, I went for about a week every single day and just went looking for them. And only on the last day did I really see a jaguar, and it was so quick. It just went straight through the river and then it was gone. And I was so amazed by that experience that I couldn't really take to looking at it. But of course, you know, they're very similar. So they're actually very similar, the jaguar and the leopard of the savannah. Jaguar is a little bit bigger from the research that I've done. And I mean, of course, you know, the Cape leopard is half the size of the savannah. So the jaguar is a little bit stronger built because it has to climb in the trees. During the rainy season in the Pantanal, the water picks up, and so the jaguars have to go into areas, and they have to swim. So they need to be a little bit more powerful, and therefore they have bigger muscles than the savannah here. The Cape, back in Cape Town, is half the size of all of them, and actually has a much, much bigger territory than the savannah leopard. What an incredible encounter that I was given and had the opportunity of seeing. It really is this, it's such being in the presence of a wild predator such as a jaguar or a leopard here in the savannah is just significant, because they have such an influence on the landscape. Wow. Here we are, guys. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Oof. What's going on here, guys? We're having a very interesting encounter here. I can't see. Ooh, it looks like a little bit of dominance. I think it could be two young males. I can't quite see. But we can see. How is this, everyone? What an amazing sighting. I'm noticing now as I look, we can't see much through the bush, but what's actually happening are two elephants that are going at each other. I can't tell if they're males. I'm not able to see through the bushveld here. But I'm going to see if I can reposition into a space where I can get a better picture. So I'm just going to reverse and see. Cheyenne in Vancouver is asking an interesting question on whether the female elephants will fight much like the males. And mostly the males will fight because they're trying to fight for dominance. But I have seen females against each other, especially, when what happens with the elephants is they have a matriarchal social structure, which means that there's a female that leads the herd of elephants. And sometimes when a matriarch is stepping down and a new matriarch is coming up, there can be some hostility between the matriarch during that change. But often with male elephants, they go through something that's called musk, when they have a lot of hormones that are going through them. And you can tell they're going through musk when you can see stuff coming out of their ears, like wet substance. So there's quite a bit of hostility between these two elephants here, and I'm going to slowly creep forward to see if we can get a better visual of the elephants. But I want to be very, very, very safe in this situation, as there is a lot of hostility, so we must be careful. But isn't this exciting? Wow. So they've just headed. Yes, Tiffany, we could hear the tusks banging together just earlier. Is there much of a picture there? You can just see them through the foliage. I'm gonna hold it at this position, everyone, just because there's no point in trying to get too close. This is something between them and not us. So getting in the middle of it will only cause issues for myself and Brian in the car. But that was just an incredible experience. I've actually never seen that before. You could really hear those tusks hitting each other. Hello. Morning. So you can see that they've calmed down just a little bit. And they're almost going in their different directions now. Jason just asked a very interesting question, and that was, why are elephants' hips so hairy? Sorry, not hips, lips. Lips. Yeah. So their chin, not their hips. No, I did hear that correctly, but it just came out my mouth a bit differently. It's a good question. You know, often we have hairs around us, and that helps us to feel and sense things a bit better. So it could be from a point of view of just trying to sense things a bit better. I mean, that would be my answer. It just helps with the feeling, you know, why we have hairs. Maybe it's to do with, you know, from eating things that are not so easy to eat. What else could it be from? You know, it's a very interesting question, Jess. But that was an incredible sighting that we had here with the elephants. I'm so interested to see what they're going to go and do now. Potentially they're going to head in different directions, but with that we're going to sit here for a bit to see what they do. Let's see what James is doing, and we'll see you just now.
It's breakfast time, everyone. It's breakfast time here in the Greater Kruger National Park, and for breakfast today, we'll be having berries. Jean-Andre, are you excited?
Very.
Now, these are the berries. Jean-Andre, sound more excited. These are the berries of the magic guari bush, and they're actually really nice. They're one of the few fruits that are pretty tasty to eat, and I don't want to steal too much from the birds that are going to want to eat them, but because Gracie, aged 8, doesn't watch in the morning, we can get away with it. She doesn't like it when I eat things. She feels that I'm stealing from the animals, which I suppose I might be. But these, with a bit of a double cream, thick Greek yogurt, would be absolutely delicious. Jean-Andre, I will give them to you. Here you are. Put those all in your mouth at the same time. I'm not going to put that one in. They're quite sweet, but as with most fruit out here, excuse me, as with most fruit out here, they do have a slightly mouth-drying effect. And how are you feeling, John? He can't speak anymore, you see, that's why I gave them to. Oh, no, it's just... He spat them into his hand because he's operating the camera, of course. That was absolutely disgusting. What they do is they've got like a sweet outer flesh, which most of the fruits do here, and then it's very kind of thin flesh, and then you get to the seed, and often there's a kind of very sort of tanniny layer around the seed, and I don't really know why that is, but I think that what you'll find is that many of the plants and many of the berries and things that we eat by default now and that we go and buy in the supermarkets probably initially were the same. And then they were selectively bred, not genetically modified, just selectively bred for those plants that didn't produce fruits that were quite so bitter. And slowly the flesh became thicker and thicker and thicker. So I think you'll find that the ancient ancestors of, say, a peach didn't have flesh anything like as thick as it is now. I'm sure it was much thinner before you got to the pip. Jean-Andre has completed his fruit. He put them back in his mouth. Unbelievable. There's no explaining some people, I have to tell you. I must confess I'm slightly disappointed by that. I thought it'd be nicer. You see, this is crazy. Eric, we may go black screen again if we do. Yes, you say that they would be nice with pancakes. Well, but for that kind of bitter taste, I mean, they look like they should be delicious blueberries, but they're not quite. They're just not quite there. And I wouldn't mind, I mean, doing a sort of project of selectively breeding them over the course of, say, 20 years and see if we couldn't create some really delicious worry fruits. They're not bad, they're okay. In the context of general fruits out here, they're not too bad. The other fruit out here that's just starting to come into season now, and as I think most berries actually are edible in the winter months, or just before winter. The other fruit is the white berry bush, which tastes like a really nice sweet pea. And they should be around. I'll try and find some. I ate a few unripe ones the other day with Brian. They weren't very delicious at all, but given Gendre's Catholic tastes, i.e. he'll eat anything, we'll give him some of those and see what he thinks of them. James Richard, I agree with you completely. You say that Gendre's excitement is so overwhelming. It is, isn't it? He's so overwhelmingly excited. Gendre, film these impala.
Riveting.
They're actually really close, these chaps. Young males, and they will feel a slight increase in testosterone as we go towards the May, and they'll have a kind of mini rut where they will fight with each other a little bit, but not anything like those big adults will. He's a little bit older than some of the others, so he's probably just about 2 years old, or just over 2 years old. So not quite into his full rutting season, full first rutting season yet. There he is. And around us you can hear a little bit more bird song. The drongos, fork-tailed completely skipped my mind. Rattling testicular, there we go, going toot toot toot, taka 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 taka, toot toot toot, taka 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 taka. And I actually think there's a drongo. No, there isn't. There's the testicular there. We so seldom see them. We hear them all the time. He's at the top of that bush there. That's the rattling testicular. Can you see him, Jean-André? No, he's still there. Right at the top of the bush there. There we go. Rattling testicular, everyone. A little brown job, as they're often known. But we seldom see them, and they're always calling. There we go. He's still there. You can't see him because he's behind a tree. I'm just going to quickly have a look. Yes, that is indeed the rattling testicular. And I hope you appreciate the binoculars through which I'm viewing the rattling testicular. You see them, Genre? Right, let's move on. We're not too far from where Tingana was yesterday. And while we move along here, Sam has got some little carnivores to show you.
Dwarf mongoose, everyone. Look how sweet these little characters are. They really are such fun creatures to watch. And they are so cute. Check at them all popping out of their hole, getting some of that morning sunlight. It's been a cold couple days, and they're just basking in the sun. They are sweet. One of them just had a little yawn. Oh, sweet. Aren't you guys just the cutest little people? Well, not people, mongoose. They are dwarf mongoose, everyone. So you get a number of different types of mongoose, and these are the smallest. So the dwarf being smallest. And you often find them just in these little holes that sit here, and they've got a few different holes. So they're very smart, the dwarf mongoose. They they will move homes every now and then just because it confuses the predators like owls. So today we see them here, and they most likely have another home just down the road. And by doing that, they have, maybe like 13 or 14 different homes. And by doing that confuses the predator and makes it easier for them to survive in their groups. That's another important fact, that some mongoose are solitary, some of them are actually, they live in gregarious groups like the dwarf mongoose. One of the solitary ones is the white-tailed mongoose, which I've only ever seen once. Beautiful mongoose that has a very, very white tail at the end. But these little mongooses, oh man, they're so cool. So sweet. Long time no see, dwarfs. It's been a long time since I've seen you guys, and you guys are so beautiful. Look at the color of the brown. It's just shining in that sunlight. And they like to eat little insects. They'll eat scorpions. They'll eat little insects that are on the ground. And mongoose have a very interesting relationship. I think it's the hornbill, a mutual relationship between hornbills and mongooses. I think it's a hornbill. I'm going to have to look at my facts a bit later.